Hello, welcome back to Sushi Live Noding. For today's November prompt, we have paint. So I'm gonna teach you just the basic on how to paint color by number. So it's gonna be super basic. So let's switch to SVerchok nodes, and I'm gonna start with just a circle. And with the circle, we're gonna get a circle, of course, but I want to make it more like a paint, like a drip of paint. So I need to use noise displace, and I'm gonna displace it somehow. Okay, let's say we have 32 vertices, it's being displaced, but I don't want to displace it in z-axis. So that's a little bit better. Maybe reduce the x and y displacement. So now we have some kind of paint dripped. I can increase this further and play around with this, but I think that's about right. So file, save as, paint by number. So currently it's just gray, and if I want to give it color and very quickly, the fastest is actually just to use Vertex Color. So objects goes here, and we are giving this a color using SVerchok nodes, and the result is this SVCol. But we need to give it a material so we can see the color. So I just create a new material, and then for the base color here, I'm just gonna assign Vertex Color, and it should be smart enough to get the first Vertex Color it's being assigned, or you can be specific. And we can turn on Vertex Color here. So whatever color we pass in, it's gonna show up here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. We can assign the color into vertices, face, or loop. And if we actually use a color in nodes, we can adjust the color using numbers. So this is paint by number. So you can actually just use random number, for example, random float, size of 1, randomize the seed. So you're gonna give this a different color each time of RGB. So that's one way to do this. What I really like is usually instead of using RGB, I use HSV. But we also, don't forget, we also have new color mix nodes. So this is actually really handy to just mix numbers to get a color that we want. So for now, let's don't worry about all that. Just use HSV. So I can give it random color very easily, because this value that's coming out is going to be numbers between 0 and 1, and this is what Blender color like, a value between 0 and 1, and you can play around with saturations or the value, and on top of that I think you can pipe it in a bunch of number, and you're gonna get something like that. Why is it? Because we are giving this vertex color, we are giving it a random color when we set it up to vertices. We can switch to face, but since we only have one face from a circle, so we don't have any other color. If you want random face, you can say you can triangulate the mesh like so. There you go. Okay, so we're really, just playing around with this and giving random color. You can actually play around with the noise. And yeah, I think I quite like this result. So vertices, face, or loop. So that's giving you all kind of different results depending on the value that's coming in here as well. So I think this is quite beautiful shapes. if you want to code something like this, you can actually look at open source programming software like processing. Processing is really cool for this. And yeah, before I get into the nodes, I mean, you can start with the nodes and then study a little bit of coding with processing, but I think this is kind of really nice and quick way to understand. Before you go into codes, you can just use nodes. And with SVerchok, something really special you can do is that you can pipe in more. Let's say I want to make duplicates of this circle. So I have this grid coming in. So I'm gonna have a bunch of this object. So let's say I have 16 of them. Now currently they are all the same, but you could have a number like so. So it's an integer number. I want to give it 16 integer. This goes into the seed, and we need to split this. So we have different shape. So we're really creating something here. So based on the circles being displaced by this noise with a random seed, we have different shapes. All right, so that's cool. How about the color? The colors also, currently they're kind of random, but they're kind of getting the same value. So we also need to use split here. So let's split. So random number goes in. If it's split by 1, no matter what, we're gonna have one random value for each object. So maybe we need to have this. We need to increase this number. So we're gonna have different value for each one of these. So that's basically the idea. I think it's slightly confusing. But I think list level 2 actually split it. Hard to see the data, but here, yeah, this is what I want. So split level 2 give us all this random number for each and every individual unique shapes. So this is basically paint by numbers. With numbers, of course, yeah, you have to learn about RGB value, HSV value, HLS, HSL, and these numbers generate colors that you can assign into the vertices or the face or the loop. Loop's actually quite nice, but vertices look like watercolor painting. And if you combine everything, if you really want to have something that's like a watercolor, you can enable alpha blend. And I believe with alpha blend, if you can kind of use, you can blend the color like this. And just play around with the alpha. This alpha blend, you can actually give a vertex color with alpha, I think, but it doesn't react until you use cycles. So in the meantime, you can use alpha here. There you go. That's from the top view, you can see something that's more or less like a watercolor painting. It's quite nice, right? Painting by numbers. It used to be a little bit more complicated and scary for me until, I mean, it took me 10 years, but at least I know the basic now, and to make painting like this is much easier. You see, from the top view it looks dry, but from the bottom it looks kind of nice. So this is really painting by numbers. Okay, So hopefully you find this interesting and useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.